chemo. No big deal. Second round, got a little bit sick, and then that third round, I was just, I mean, it's like I got hit by a truck, dude. And so it was just so weird, you know, learning how to deal with feeling like that because, you know, I mean, it was just brand new. You know, I'd never experienced anything like it before. And I hope to God none of my worst enemies, I hope, ever experience anything like that, you know. But the fact that, you know, I did go through that, I don't know, it's just like living, breathing proof that as human beings, with love and support, we can get through anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, truly, there's not any kind of obstacle or mountain that can get put in front of you that if you don't have a positive approach to it and you combine that with.
I landed in Houston, Texas, learned that being black and male in America was a very different experience and had to kind of like learn that very quickly being in the South. And then I joined the military. I lost a lot of faith, especially in religion. But it definitely sent me down a path of spirituality, you know? So I sought that. I sought it through combat, through fighting, martial arts, mastery of my body, a lot of philosophy, trying to master my mind. That also led me down a path, like my brother said, to where I really expressed a lot of myself with relationships and women and marriages and then some of those broken, you know, hearts after those marriages, having like, you know, you're rebellious, you know, like you rebel against the character of person that you were immediately before, right? And then the heart gets broken and you rebel against that idea. So had a lot of those experiences and got to maybe two major points in my life where I was completely disconnected, especially from people and connecting and communicating. Luckily, because of public speaking and also because of a mother that used to sit me down every day and force me to communicate what I felt about my day, what actually happened, telling a story in a proper line and, you know, within a structure, and being able to pull out a moral value out of my everyday experience. That was a daily practice. So along that process and trying to figure that out for myself as an adult, I ran smack into salsa dancing, and that was the mechanism, the tool that helped me get out of my brain and helped me get out of my experiences enough to start doing that for myself, right? To start pulling those lessons out of the experiences I had and start to rebuild my values and my character. And along the way, I got married again. I've danced all over the world. I've taught all over the world. But I just meet so many amazing people that remind me how empowered the human experience is, you know, and how we embody frequency in our actions, frequency in our thoughts, and how that can manifest the realities we want. And mine's a evolving one, but yeah, I'm addicted to practice right now. That's my highest value, is a ritualistic approach to my life so that everything has a defined meaning and I know what I'm pursuing on a daily basis, so that at the end, when I look down and I start to write what my values are, the man that I want to be is exactly what's on that paper. So that's been my process for like the past 7 years, and that's through breathing and moving and stuff like this. Yeah, so that's been my experience.
Sounds amazing.
It's been great. It's like you hurt a lot, but you learn a lot.
Your
You know?
your experience with racism and how it was so abrupt was, you know, like mine, because growing up back home,
then I was in a situation where I was in a classroom with 30 other kids, and I was the only black person. And then I was confronted with daily racism, like the most horrible stuff you would think of, like being called a nigger, being picked on by a bunch of white kids, and now I can see those. No one is born racist, right? You're a product of your environment and your upbringing. So those children, they were just responding to what their parents were, spewing out in front of them. So now I can look back and be like, oh man, those kids at that point, like, you're just a kid, you don't really know. So I can forgive that, but you can't really forgive a grown person for being racist. But back to that, like, just being forced into that racism caused me to just shut the fuck down. And I became extremely introverted and no communication. Like, when we're talking about communication now, which is crazy because I have this natural ability to like convey emotion and energy. It's something that I was blessed with. But imagine that just gone. Imagine me just nothing. So it took a while to get back out of that. And then communication, again, is just another example of how, let's say if you destroy someone's means to communicate, you essentially isolate them.
Yeah.
Because everybody's had that feeling. You feel like you're on an island by yourself, you're in a room by yourself, or whatever you want to think it is. But that's just one way of how, like, for me, communication. When I remember, like, when I couldn't communicate and talk, honestly, mostly it was in the relationships that I had with women where most of that happened. But there are other instances, specifically, with the racism thing, which you just reminded me of, that really kind of just swept my feet from under me, and it took a while to get back up and stand and center my my gravity and be like, okay, do I even want to do this? Do I even want to talk to people? You know what I mean? And I'll say this to anyone, white or black, I honestly had apprehensions, speaking to white people until I was like 25-ish, until I met, Joe, my best friend, and Dan, her brother, and their whole family. They were Jewish, and they treated me like their son. They treated me like their family. And that was also the first moment that sparked for me that, like, your family isn't just your blood, your family isn't your color,
Of Christianity is that God is, like, that's why hell was created. Like, it really was not a place until God was like, I have to get rid of my favorite son, right? That's what the prodigal son is. That's also the sacrifice of Abraham. That's what those stories resonate, is that same thing where God is just like, oh man, right? The most beautiful, talented, the most, the greatest thing I've ever created was Lucifer, right? He was the sound. He was the star of God, right? That's what it means, the light, the first light. Lucifer is the morning light, right? Like, that's who he was, and he just rebelled. And he was just like, all right, dude, I gotta get rid of you, but if you're gonna be bad, there you go. It's crazy. That's a beautiful.
And I don't mean to twist the story for my convenience.
Nah, I'm keeping that one. That's in my book.
I really feel God, right?
You have
ultimate
to
love,
that is beautiful.
Ultimate compassion, right? And
that's super dope.
And I'll hit it again with the whole hell thing and the whole hell and brimstones and forever torture. And no, in my heart, throughout, God is not going to endlessly torture anyone or any spirit or no, that is not the answer. For me, a lot of that is built on fear and control and weak-mindedness. But the God that I've found, and like I said again, like, finally, I'm 34 now. It took me that long. I've really solidified my faith, and this idea of endlessly burning in hell for bad people and all this, it just doesn't agree with me, and I do not really believe in it, because I do not believe that the God that created me, that is working beyond means that I can't even comprehend right now, because you know, we can take a tangent and get into the energy and all that, and how we're all vibrating at a certain frequency, and in my opinion the goal is to raise your vibration and frequency, and that's to get us closer to all of our, you know, our that godly energy, that higher spirit, you know what I mean? I feel like I could talk forever about that kind of stuff. But no, I love it, dude. Like I had such a hard time with religion and faith, and like I had times where I was like, oh, fuck God, and I'm an atheist and all this shit, and I'm like, nah, bro. Like, I love God. Like I know that shit's real. I've had my experiences where I was riding a bicycle on a bridge. Yeah, I had a little marijuana on me, but bro, literally the spirit fucking beamed into me. I was filled with energy. I was riding on this bridge at the apex of the bridge with the sun and the ocean shining on me, and I was no longer on the apex of the bridge. I was on top of the fucking earth. Yeah. And I was literally receiving energy, and I was like, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, so this is what it feels like when like you're fully fucking connected, not fearful, not, you know, any of that negative, and just love. Honestly, I haven't achieved that level a lot of times since then, but I know it's possible, and like it's something that I'm willing to work towards like every single day, because for those brief seconds, like without a doubt, like no one can torture me to death and make me ever not believe in God, in that higher, like I know it through and through, because that shit went straight through me. You know what I mean? And like
that's why I dance every day. I was on a trip. I was just in a really bad spot, and I needed just like, I don't know. My wife was like, "You need to go." An opportunity came up, and I went, and pretty much we danced 8 hours a day, right? Trained and taught, and I would train extra, sometimes 12 hours. And on that trip, my friend and I, we were very aware of the practices we were doing, because we were dancing these certain African deities and certain storylines, and I knew the information, he knew how to dance them, and we just kind of went on this journey, and the practice and the rhythm and the frequency, right? Really, it was just the frequency. And so I had like these two crazy, like you, just like out of body, full on energetic, connected experiences. One, I was filled with happiness, and that was a whole experience in of itself. I'm like looking like in the middle of Saigon, hands up in the air, crying, screaming thank you, like, and just like crying tears of joy and happiness, like not knowing. I'm sitting there, and then my brain clicks on and goes, "You're just like those crazy prophets in the Bible yelling out to God, like, you know." And I'm just like, "Oh God, this is nuts, like that just happened to me, it's nuts." And then the other one was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was filled with just like unbearable love, like so much love, like it dropped me to my knees, like as the moon was still there, and I just saw people that sowed love into me, and just through action and relationship, never wanted, like almost like just, it's like they weren't even around when I wanted to give them things in return. Like their love just was never, it was never available for me to give back anytime I even wanted to, because their love was that pure, right? And it was just like those people's faces filled me, and I had this phenomenal experience that day, right? And I came back and I was like, I have to practice. And I kept practicing. What's up, brother?